If you're like most people, you don't know some of the things that happened in your birth year. Sure, some of these things might be ancient history, some might bring back fond memories, good or bad, and some you might find surprisingly relevant today. For those of you watching born in 1996, congratulations! You're turning 30. Sit back and relax and let's review 20 forgotten events that made life in America. Be sure to stick around for the last one because sadly, this case remains unsolved today. Snowmageddon. On January 6th, one of the worst blizzards in American history slammed the East Coast. The storm dumped over 30 inches of snow on Philadelphia and forced New York City's public schools to close for the first time in 18 years. Washington, D.C. shut down for days, and the federal government couldn't function. More than 150 people died. Cars were buried, roofs collapsed, and entire cities ground to a halt. If you lived anywhere from Virginia to Massachusetts, you remember digging out snow for days. Some folks were trapped in their homes for a week. The cleanup cost over $3 billion and left memories that an entire generation won't forget.
A brutal assault of wind and snow like few have ever seen before. Even in places that are used to winter storms, people have been left stunned by this blizzard.
Champions. On January 28th, the Dallas Cowboys beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-17 in Super Bowl 30, with Emmitt Smith running for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was the Cowboys' third title in 4 years. In June, the Chicago Bulls finished one of the greatest seasons in NBA history, going 72-10 and beating the Seattle Supersonics for the championship. Michael Jordan won his 4th Finals MVP. The Colorado Avalanche, in their first season after relocating from Quebec, swept the Florida Panthers for the Stanley Cup. And the New York Yankees ended an 18-year drought by beating the Atlanta Braves in the World Series. Oscars. On March 25th, Braveheart swept the night with 5 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director for Mel Gibson. Nicolas Cage won Best Actor for Leaving Las Vegas, playing an alcoholic drinking himself to death. Susan Sarandon took Best Actress for Dead Man Walking. Kevin Spacey won Best Supporting Actor for The Usual Suspects, and Mira Sorvino grabbed Best Supporting Actress for Mighty Aphrodite. Emma Thompson became the first person to win Oscars for both acting and writing with Best Adapted Screenplay for Sense and Sensibility. The Coen brothers' Fargo proved great films could come from anywhere, even frozen Minnesota.
I have got to thank the members of the Academy for this, for including me in this group of super talents.
The Unabomber. For 18 years, a mysterious bomber terrorized the nation, targeting universities and airlines with homemade explosives. On April 3rd, FBI agents surrounded a tiny cabin in the Montana wilderness and arrested Theodore Kaczynski, a former math professor living off the grid since 1971. His brother David had recognized Ted's writing style in a manifesto published by the Washington Post and tipped off authorities. Inside the cabin, agents found bomb-making materials, 40,000 pages of journals, and a live bomb ready to mail. Kaczynski's campaign had killed 3 people and injured 23 others. He pleaded guilty and received life in prison without parole.
He ended up creating chemical mixes, melting his own components, and casting them and putting them into the devices.
Gadgets. The aisles were full of new gadgets. Motorola unveiled the StarTAC in January, the world's first flip phone. Weighing just over 3 ounces, it was the smallest cell phone ever made and immediately became a status symbol. Despite the $1,000 price tag, more than 60 million phones have been sold. The Palm Pilot put a personal digital assistant in everyone's pocket. Toshiba introduced the first DVD player, the SD3000, promising to make VHS obsolete. The first USB ports appeared on computers. Microsoft released Internet Explorer 3.0, battling Netscape Navigator for browser dominance. While email officially surpassed postal mail in the United States, the digital age was full speed ahead. the Information Superhighway. The internet, or as the media called it, the World Wide Web, started becoming something ordinary people actually used. America Online reached 6 million subscribers, and that "you've got mail" greeting became part of American life. Yahoo was the go-to search engine. Amazon was a weird online bookstore, and eBay was just getting started as a place to auction collectibles and used stuff. Most people connected through dial-up modems that tied up phone lines and moved at speeds that would make today's users lose their minds. But you could email friends, join chat rooms, and wait forever for websites to load. The future was logging on with a screeching modem.
You've got mail.
Blockbuster Summer. Hollywood had a monster year. Independence Day opened on July 3rd and dominated everything. When Will Smith punched an alien and declared, "Welcome to Earth," it gave you goosebumps. How about when the White House exploded? Here's a plug for our video on 13 biggest changes to the White House ever. Twister had audiences gripping their seats as Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton chased tornadoes. Mission Impossible reinvented Tom Cruise as an action hero and launched a franchise that would never end. The Rock put Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery on Alcatraz. Jerry Maguire showed us the money. Michael Jordan hung out with Bugs Bunny in Space Jam. Scream revived slasher horror with self-aware humor. Fargo proved the Coen brothers could do dark comedy like nobody else.
I'm back!
New foods. Convenience food was king, and the year delivered. Starbucks partnered with Pepsi to launch bottled Frappuccino coffee drinks, bringing the coffeehouse experience to supermarket shelves. They couldn't make them fast enough that first summer. General Mills introduced French Toast Crunch cereal, miniature toast-shaped pieces with a maple syrup flavor that kids went crazy for. Post also debuted Waffle Crisp, another breakfast favorite shaped like tiny waffles. Nabisco rolled out Cream Savers, smooth hard candies that swirled fruit flavors with cream, becoming an instant hit at checkout lines everywhere. Hot Pockets spun off the Croissant Pockets, offering a fancier, flakier take on the microwavable snack.
Flavors together.
Cream, yes, life save us, yeah.
Cream savers.
Tragedy over the Atlantic. On July 17th, TWA Flight 800 exploded and crashed into the Atlantic Ocean shortly after takeoff from JFK Airport. All 230 people aboard were killed. Conspiracy theories immediately swirled, with some witnesses claiming they saw a streak of light heading toward the plane. After a 4-year investigation, the NTSB concluded that the explosion was caused by a spark igniting fuel vapors in the center fuel tank. The crash led to new safety requirements for fuel tanks. It remains the third deadliest aviation accident in U.S. history.
Aircraft fuel tanks are considered explosive environments, and they have to be isolated from ignition sources because you don't want to have any chance that something will ignite in those areas because there's fuel there.
The Olympics. On July 19th, the Summer Olympics opened in Atlanta. Muhammad Ali, trembling from Parkinson's disease, lit the Olympic cauldron in one of the game's most emotional moments. The U.S. dominated with 101 medals, including 44 gold. Michael Johnson became the first man to win both the 200 meters and 400 meters, setting a world record that stood for 12 years. The women's gymnastics team, the Magnificent Seven, won America's first team gold, with Carrie Strug landing her vault on an injured ankle. But tragedy struck on July 27th when a pipe bomb exploded in Centennial Olympic Park, killing 2 and injuring 111. The games continued amidst this tragedy. Hit songs. The radio was packed with hits. On August 3rd, Macarena by Los Del Rio hit #1 and stayed for 14 weeks. You couldn't escape the dance at weddings, bat mitzvahs, or even the Democratic National Convention. Alanis Morissette continued her reign with Ironic and You Learn. Celine Dion's Because You Loved Me was everywhere. Bone Thugs and Harmony's The Crossroads paid tribute to Eazy-E, the Fugees reimagined Killing Me Softly, No Doubt's Don't Speak made Gwen Stefani a star. Tupac released California Love before his tragic murder in September, and the Spice Girls invaded America with Wannabe, changing pop music forever.
If you wanna be my lover.
Welfare reform. On August 22nd, President Clinton signed the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act, fundamentally changing the welfare system. The law ended the federal guarantee of cash assistance for low-income families and replaced it with block grants to states. It imposed time limits on benefits and work requirements for recipients. Clinton called it the end of welfare as we know it. Critics worried it would hurt the most vulnerable Americans, while supporters said it would encourage self-sufficiency. The bill passed with bipartisan support after Clinton vetoed two earlier versions he considered too harsh. It remains one of the most significant and controversial pieces of legislation from the 1990s. New shows. In the fall, Everybody Loves Raymond premiered on CBS on September 13th, introducing America to Ray Barone and his meddling family. The show ran for 9 seasons and won 15 Emmys. Seventh Heaven debuted, giving the WB a family-friendly hit. Third Rock from the Sun had John Lithgow playing an alien navigating human life. Spin City put Michael J. Fox back on television as a political aide in New York. Sabrina the Teenage Witch cast a spell on viewers who tuned in for the TGIF lineup. And over on cable, The Daily Show premiered on Comedy Central, though it wouldn't become a hit show until Jon Stewart took over a few years later.
All I know is I got a transmitter in my head, and Charlie's Angels is on weeknights at 7.
Losing a legend. On September 7th, Tupac Shakur was shot in a drive-by in Las Vegas after attending the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand. He died 6 days later on September 13th. He was only 25 years old. The East Coast-West Coast hip-hop rivalry had claimed its first major casualty, though the whole story remains murky to this day. Tupac left behind a catalog that continues to influence hip-hop music. His album All Eyes on Me, released earlier that year, remains one of the best-selling hip-hop albums ever. His death sent shockwaves through the music world, and the case wasn't charged until 2023.
So, I feel like I'm doing God's work.
Gaming revolution. On September 29th, Nintendo released the Nintendo N64 in North America, and gaming would never be the same. Priced at $199.99, it launched with Super Mario 64 and Pilot Wings 64. That first Mario game alone sold the system. It pioneered 3D platforming and showed everyone what games could become. The N64's 4 controller ports made it the ultimate party console. Within months, kids wanted to be Player One. It was the system that gave us GoldenEye 007 multiplayer and Mario Kart 64 battles. If you grew up with it, you know. Four more years. On November 5th, Bill Clinton became the first Democrat since FDR to win re-election. He defeated Republican Bob Dole and Reform Party candidate Ross Perot, capturing 379 electoral votes to Dole's 159. Clinton won 49% of the popular vote, while Dole took 41% and Perot got 8%. The economy was humming, unemployment was low, and the world was relatively peaceful. Dole struggled to connect with voters and couldn't shake perceptions that he was too old at 73. Clinton campaigned on building a bridge to the 21st century, while Dole promised a 15% tax cut that never gained traction. Republicans controlled both houses of Congress.
Opportunity for all, responsibility from all, an American community of all Americans.
Legalize it. Also on November 5th, California became the first state in the nation to legalize medical marijuana. Proposition 215, the Compassionate Use Act, passed with 56% of the vote, allowing patients with a doctor's recommendation to possess and cultivate cannabis for conditions like cancer, AIDS, glaucoma, and chronic pain. The measure was championed by activists like Dennis Perrin and Brownie Mary Rathbun, who had been distributing pot brownies to AIDS patients. Law enforcement opposed it, but voters decided sick people shouldn't go to jail for seeking relief. The landmark decision sparked a nationwide movement, with dozens of states eventually following California's lead.
Well, I've got glaucoma, breast cancer, arthritis, and a few other things of old age, you know. And marijuana helps all those things.
Bestsellers. The Ford Taurus was the best-selling car of the year. The redesigned 1996 model featured a controversial oval rear window that people either found futuristic or weird. The Honda Accord and Toyota Camry were right behind, reliable sedans that practically sold themselves. The Honda Civic remained the choice for budget-conscious buyers. Meanwhile, SUVs were taking over. The Ford Explorer was everywhere, the go-to for suburban families wanting space. The Subaru Outback carved out a niche for outdoorsy types, while the Land Rover Defender appealed to weekend warriors. For thrills, the Ford Mustang delivered American muscle, and the Toyota Supra offered twin-turbo precision. Elmo Mania. The holiday shopping season was defined by one toy, Tickle Me Elmo. The red Sesame Street character that giggled and shook when squeezed became the must-have gift. Parents lined up for hours, stores sold out instantly, and fights broke out in toy aisles. A $30 toy was selling for $1,500 on the black market. News crews filmed the chaos. Sadly, in Canada, a Walmart employee was trampled by 300 shoppers. If you were a kid in 1996 and woke up Christmas morning to find Elmo under the tree, you were one happy camper. The Elmo frenzy became a symbol of holiday consumerism gone wild.
Don't be deceived by that laughter. There might be some tears in there, too, because for all the money the manufacturers have made, they could have made millions more if they hadn't underestimated demand.
A Christmas tragedy. On December 26, 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey was found dead in the basement of her family's home in Boulder, Colorado. Her mother had called the police that morning after seeing a ransom note demanding $118,000. The beauty pageant queen's death became a national obsession. The case had everything tabloids loved: a wealthy family, an innocent child victim, and a mystery that it seemed would never get solved. Was it an intruder or someone inside the house? The investigation was criticized for mishandling evidence from the start. Suspicion fell on family members, but no one was ever charged. The case remains officially unsolved and continues to generate headlines, documentaries, and theories 3 decades later.
Because who else would have the time, they would say, to write that intricate note and practice it beforehand, other than someone trying to cover up a crime?
There you have it. If you enjoyed this video, watch another one. Watch our video about 1995.